Hello everyone, Mason here. How you doing? Well, the festive season's over. Thank God for that! I can finally leave my house without swarms of people desperately purchasing everything in sight like the apocalypse is on the way, soundtracked by the sickly sweet drivel blasting over the PA system trying to con me into thinking I'm having a good time. Yeah, Mariah, all I want for Christmas is to never hear that song again. Sorry, what I should have said was, I hope you all had a good Christmas. At the time of recording, we're almost done with 2022. For me, it was a year in which I walked over 1,000 miles, became the proud servant of a cat, wrote 5 volumes of The Bleeding Ground, created the TalkTube series, made some new friends, and even found the time to take part in some live streaming shenanigans. All in all, it was a fun year, but we're not quite finished yet, so let's take a look at what I was up to in December. Last week I decided to listen to Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. Obviously I've got to be careful because it's a short story, so pretty much everything is spoilers, but what I will say is, I really liked it. The thing is, I think a lot of people assume that writing a short story would be easier because it's shorter, but that's not necessarily the case because short stories come with their own set of challenges. You've got a tight window to get in, do what you came to do, and get out again. To craft something memorable that the audience finds satisfying and leaves them wanting more but not in a disappointing way is a difficult task, and in my opinion, Ted Chiang does a phenomenal job of that. Story of Your Life is equally beautiful and fascinating. It somehow tells a heartbreakingly bittersweet, deeply personal story that has some incredibly intriguing, thought-provoking, philosophical concepts sprinkled throughout. The fact that he explores the themes of motherhood and predetermination, asks poignant questions like whether it's better to have love and lose it than never have it at all, as well as examining the nature of language acquisition and challenging our perception of reality, keeps it consistent and has it all make sense in such a short time frame is mind-blowing. I don't know how he does it. This isn't your typical alien encounter story. It doesn't ask the standard questions and doesn't do what you expect it to do. That makes it so much more engaging. To be honest, I enjoyed this so much that I need to experience more of Ted Chiang's writing, so I'm most likely going to purchase either Stories of Your Life and Others or Exhalation. Let me know in the comments which collection you preferred. I also read The Santa Killer by Ross Greenwood. It's almost like I hate Christmas. I stumbled across the D.I. Barton series earlier this year, powered through it, and proper enjoyed it. It's your typical crime series format, each book is a standalone case and you can pretty much dive in anywhere, although, to be honest, the first 2 books are probably my favourite anyway. Ross Greenwood's writing style isn't flashy and beautiful, but it is solid and dependable. Each book is easy to read with some fun and unexpected twists, even if some characters do suffer from a lack of development throughout the series. Not only is Barton funny and good at his job, but he's also a likeable, happy-go-lucky family man, which is a refreshing change from the miserable, jaded, divorced alcoholic detective that shows up as the protagonist in way too many crime novels. Unfortunately, The Santa Killer is a bit lackluster and disappointing. That's because Greenwood wastes 2/3 of the book meandering through a plot that just isn't that interesting. The worst part is, the last third pivots into a much more engaging storyline that has nowhere near enough time to develop or achieve its potential. It's a shame because if he'd taken the time to develop that last third and made it the focus of the story, it could have been one of the better books in the series. In my opinion, it just felt like he was trying to do too much, and in the end, that was detrimental to the story. To be honest, I'm kinda torn, because it ended on a note that made it feel like The Santa Killer was the finale of the series, and on one hand, if we're gonna get diminishing returns from now on, I'd probably prefer him to just leave it there, but if he can come back with something better, I don't want it to be over yet. Last but not least on the reading front, believe it or not, I've been working my way through some non-fiction. Yeah, that's right, I've been learning about reality and stuff. Except not really, because it's on Writing and World Building Volume 2 by Tim from Hello Future Me. I don't have too much to say other than it's a fun and valuable resource with some useful insights that I definitely feel I can apply to my own writing. As for what I've been watching, I've been working my way through season 11 of The Walking Dead, which had a mighty fall from grace in my art, but this season is doing a decent job of reeling me back in. The Whisperers were my least favourite Walking Dead villain, which is saying something considering how much I despise Negan. But with them out of the way, the writers have taken the show in a brave new direction, which is a bit weird, a bit jarring, but quite compelling. Considering they're heading towards the endgame, I like it. Don't get me wrong, it's still not firing on all cylinders. This isn't The Walking Dead that I fell in love with for the first 4 or 5 seasons, but I am emotionally invested and the direction they've taken has plenty of meat on the bone. I do think it could come to a satisfactory conclusion, which 2 weeks ago is not something I thought they could achieve at this point. Now, I've got a confession to make, and this may come as a surprise, so you might want to sit down. I've never watched the Addams Family. I know, I'm sorry, put down the pitchforks please. Having said that, I had no idea what I was getting into when me and Lee started Wednesday, and I tell you what, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It's a weirdly charming, gothic coming-of-age story with a somehow likeably dour protagonist that got me emotionally invested in a hand. How did they do that? It just made the emo boy inside of me smile, to be honest. If this had come out when I was a teenager, I know me and my friends would have been obsessed with it. It was weirdly nostalgic. I got serious Harry Potter vibes with the focus on friendship and finding your place in society. There was humour and darkness with an oddball cast that all felt fleshed out and individual. There was buckets of world building and I adored the tried and tested setup of the series being the story that Wednesday was writing. As someone who hasn't watched the Addams Family, I wasn't too fussed for Wednesday's parents, but Uncle Fester was fun and Thing was strangely charming. There was actually a scene later on in the series that was quite emotional and I was sitting there like, why are my eyes stinging right now? This is a hand! A lot of writers can't make actual human characters even half as engaging as Thing was, and that's genius. I watched the last 2 episodes on Christmas Day and honestly, it was oddly Christmassy. I did feel that it was fairly obvious who the villain was, but I thoroughly enjoyed the ride and the twists and turns along the way. There were some brilliant gags, and if it gets renewed for season 2, I'm going to be all over that. I've also been rediscovering my love for Doctor Who, which is nice, because at this point, I haven't felt that since around season 7, which at this point was... Computer, when was the air date of Doctor Who season 7?
Doctor Who Season 7 premiered on the 1st of September 2012 with Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do remember that episode not being particular. Holy shit, that was 10 years ago! Season 7 saw the introduction of Clara Oswald, a character that I wasn't a massive fan of. I just didn't feel any chemistry between Clara and the 11th Doctor. I'm not sure whether that's because the characters don't fit together or Jenna Coleman and Matt Smith had no chemistry. Considering that they're both pretty good actors, I suspect it's a writing issue. For a while I stopped watching completely, but over the years I have caught up, it's just that nothing's ever drawn me back in. Peter Capaldi injected something different into the role, and even though I was really stubborn and resistant to him at first because I missed Matt Smith, I do think the 12th Doctor was pretty good. As for Jodie Whittaker, it's a massive shame because I think she's great and I think she does a really good job with what she's given, it's just that she's never given anything to sink her teeth into. I have watched season 11 but I can't remember a single thing about it, and the only thing I remember about season 12, despite only watching it less than a year ago, is that it ended with the Timeless Child revelation. If you know, you know. If you don't, good for you. I honestly wish she could have just stuck around a little bit longer because Russell T Davies has a proven track record, and now that he's coming back I would really like to see what he could have done with Jodie's Doctor. Having said that, I do think that Ncuti Gatwa is inspired casting and I can't wait to see what he brings to the role. About a week ago I stumbled across a channel called Brittany Binges who does TV show reactions, and she's just finished working her way through season 1. I'm not gonna lie, I ended up binging the whole series of reactions, but it was a cool experience because she knows very little about the show and Christopher Eccleston is her first Doctor, just like he was mine, so going on that journey with her was really nostalgic, and actually quite emotional. Seriously, I'm sitting there listening to her reacting to The Parting of the Ways, which is Christopher Eccleston's final episode, and I can't even see her bloody face, I can just hear that she's getting emotional, and it made me tear up. It was like emotional time travel. It took me right back to June 2005, where 11-year-old Mason was glued to the TV, bawling his little eyes out. That final scene where Eccleston is saying goodbye right before he regenerates is still an amazing moment. I'm actually really looking forward to following Brittany as she goes through the series and taking that emotional rollercoaster with her. There's so many iconic moments that I just can't wait for her to experience so that I can vicariously recapture my youth. Between that, the trailer for the 2023 specials that dropped on Christmas Day and all the news and rumours, along with the return of Russell T Davies, Catherine Tate and David Tennant, I'm genuinely excited. I even bought a novelisation of Rose, which is Eccleston's first episode, and I'm intrigued to see how it works in prose rather than on the screen. That brings me to the question of the day, and since it's that time of year, if you could magically impose a New Year's resolution on someone, who would it be and why? I'll tell you what my answer would be. I'd choose whoever keeps leaving dog shit outside of my house, and the resolution would be to pick it up with their bare hands and put each and every one in the boot of their car. Yeah, that'll teach you to stop leaving it there, won't it? Have you enjoyed this video? If so, the like and subscribe buttons are just sitting there, waiting to be pressed. Now press them, or I'll shoot you with a super soaker filled with ice water. If you've got thoughts to share, or you want to say hi and have a chat, you know where the comment section is, and now you can join the discussions in the dark Discord server, link in the description. Thanks ever so much for spending time with me today, guys. Until next time, take care. For now I'm off, and you should have a Happy New Year.